level critical. Major systems offline.
More coronas here than at the RNC!
5 was always overshadowed by Kino Toten. I mean, that map had everything that we wanted at the time, so of course it was going to be. 5 was a much harder map, more condensed, had a different cast, and was known as the secondary map. But as we logged more and more hours into our favorite maps, 5 may start to become more well liked. It'd be one of those maps you play in the future and come to like even more because you haven't put as many hours into it as others. It was always good from the start. Being in the Pentagon, playing as exaggerated versions of political characters, fending off a zombie outbreak. 5 is unique and full of personality.
It appears the Pentagon has been breached. We are under attack by legions of the undead.
Zombies. Gentlemen, at times like these, our capacity to retaliate must be, and has to be massive, to deter all forms of aggression.
Let's talk about the cast of 5, the exaggerated personalities of political figures during this period in time. They are exaggerated because of lines like this.
Killing and maiming are indispensable to each other.
JFK talks like he's reading out of a dictionary while remaining a complete badass. Characters here are very crucial. In a time where the Pentagon gets breached by a horde of the undead, you would think it's totally over for Kennedy, McNamara, Nixon, and Castro. But then casually, Kennedy drops the hardest speech and reveals an arsenal of weapons behind the wall.
Gentlemen, lock and load.
Right there is when I am sold on this cast. Look at someone like Nixon. He's presented as just a silly little guy. He will say the most random things in that dumb accent.
I am not claustrophobic. I am not claustrophobic.
He's perfect. McNamara is one of the more tame characters, acting pretty much like a sidekick. He always sounds a little too serious and full of himself.
The closer you get, the better I am.
Castro is there just having a blast, and is probably the most sane one in the room, to be honest.
Ha ha! Our lesson for you, Diablos!
Out of all the zombie cast to ever exist, I'd honestly say this one probably contends up there with Primus and Ultimus for me. They are just that fun to play as when you're listening to them mid-game. I suppose we should get to the main meat of the map. How it plays.
Do not pray for easy lives, my friends. Pray to be stronger men.
A lot of people, including myself at first, may not like 5 because it can be a very challenging map. If you're playing alone, the only real good training spot is in the war room. And if you're playing with anyone else, then you're going to want to camp generally near the elevators or in the pack-a-punch room. The strategy is similar to other harder and less favorited maps like Verrückt, Shangri-La, Noctir, and Toten. It forces you out of your comfort of easily training zombies, and the progression of the map may be a little difficult. 5 has many doors to go through before you can turn on the power and reach the box, which will always be somewhere in the basement to start. As soon as you farm up enough points to head down a level, you'll be in the war room. Hopefully you invest in the MP5 because things usually pick up a little bit here. Don't make the mistake of investing in the MPL on the upper floor because you'll quickly need more ammo and won't be able to get it without paying to go back up the elevator. Before you get down to the main area of the war room, you're stuck up on the catwalk, which is a terrifying place to be if zombies are full sprinting at you and you didn't make the wisest of choices. But if you spend your money well and you're still early on, you'll get to the next elevator no problem. It's the basement that I fear being alone. Turning on the power, having no juggernog, no weapon from the mystery box, and being in a very tight place. Also, those Nova Crawlers are here. If you want anxiety, go down here in the middle of a round. Otherwise, keep a last zombie. After this part, it gets a lot easier and you're generally well equipped after getting the box and juggernog. The reason why I play zombies over and over is because I mostly like the journey of getting all set up with your loadout and training or camping spot, rather than the end game where you're running circles over and over. Even though with time everything will get easier, I still like to feel the anxiety. 5 is condensed and has lots of doors to progress through. It's hard and can be an anxious map to play. Exactly why I come to like it more when I've gotten way too comfortable with easier maps. Even in the end game, you're going to have to be more focused if you're training, or else you'll end up getting stuck. I know most prefer the more open maps, but 5 was the best bonus to have, jumping to something more challenging and different from what you're used to. It can be a little bare bones, and the Winter's Howl may not be your favorite, but it's the challenge and setting you should really enjoy in this one. 5 is one of the few maps that actually encourage a strategy of holding out. A final stand, as you may call it. I tend to enjoy this more nowadays than the strategy of training, as the zombies formula got pushed into that direction with more open areas, better training weapons, and overall things to make it more relaxed, which I prefer, but switching things up can be good, especially considering making final stands is how the original game mode was made out to be played. Before we move forward, let's talk about the most comprehensive vehicle combat game that is free on PC and consoles, War Thunder. In this game, you're given the choice to play between 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships amongst 10 different major nations, all in dynamic combined arms PvP battles where every vehicle is carefully crafted down to each component. Personally, I've been captivated by the intense PvP clashes that blend lightning fast action with strategic depth. War Thunder allows you to heavily personalize your vehicles with many camouflages, historical markings, and decorations. There also aren't basic hit points, but rather damage that can be done to the individual components or even the crew. Join a community of 70 million worldwide players on War Thunder, absolutely free on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. Simply click the link in the pinned comment or video description to get started. If you're a new or returning player who hasn't played in at least 6 months, you can claim a limited large bonus pack using the link. It's packed with premium vehicles, an exclusive 3D decorator called the Eagle of Valor, 7 days of premium account, 100 silver lions, and much more. Thank you, and back to the video. Let's move away from the progression and gameplay of 5 and look at what makes it different. Aside from the cast, the map serves as the perfect sidekick. It's not just slop thrown together to get you that extra map at launch, but it was the perfect reuse of resources. The Pentagon was a location in the campaign that was used for cutscene, with parts of the laboratories being in another mission. We never really got to play in the Pentagon or see it for very long, so it was perfect to include it as a zombies map. Nice clean rooms and hallways on the upper floor with offices in the background. Take the elevator down and welcome to the nerdiest place you will ever see. Head another floor down in this much bigger, bulkier elevator, and welcome to the laboratories, also known as the worst place to ever be. Also, shout out to the pig that gets to live the worst life imaginable. Let's turn on the power.
Power restored. We are now at DEFCON 1. Security lockdown active.
Now the basement will really feel like a terrible place to be, probably because of these rotating lights making it more dramatic. But also you probably are at a higher round and zombies are coming from literally every direction in these tight corridors. By the way, have you explored it all down here? I don't blame you if you haven't. We visited our pig friend that probably has gone through the worst experiments, but there's more. Mostly just subtle details. The room with all these dead bodies that have been dug into with bugs crawling all around. Big bright lights shining down onto them. Big tubes with more bodies in it. A room with some of the wonder weapons. Blood smeared everywhere. What the hell has been going on down here? Of course it was experiments and it all going terribly wrong. There's probably much worse going on in other places, especially in this universe, but we get to somewhat see it in the actual gameplay here. You just get that unsettling feeling that lots of bad things went on down here. I'd never want to be in the laboratories in the middle of a round. So let's go back up a level. Up here you will be able to get some of your favorite things like Juggernog and the Pack-a-Punch machine. The Pack-a-Punch is really simple to get, but does have a little objective every single time you want to use it, which is activating each DEFCON switch placed in the room. 2 downstairs and 2 upstairs on the catwalk. Upon activating it, the teleporter will transport you to the Pack-a-Punch room where the machine will spin out from the wall. The fun part I always liked about this room was waiting for these doors to count down and open to reveal the horde of zombies waiting for you. The perfect opportunity to try out your newly upgraded weapon. nice touch to the map is also the Pentagon announcer with the clean dialogue. She announces a few things to the players and doesn't overwhelm us with announcements. But there's one message you should really care about from her.
Warning. Breach detected on level 3. Initiate security protocol 115.
The Pentagon thief. This little can be your worst nightmare if you don't know what you're doing. If you somehow didn't know or forgot, he hauls ass at you and will snatch whatever weapon is in your hands. If you didn't know any better, you could have only had the MP5 in 1911. You're obviously going to use the MP5 to try to take him down, but you, being clueless, have your MP5 snatched, and now you're playing runaround and teleporters until you can eliminate him. Oh, except you don't have your good gun anymore to hit him hard, so hopefully you can do enough with your 1911, or else say goodbye to your gun. By now in the year 2024, the Pentagon Thief is pretty darn easy, and mostly anyone still playing knows what to do. But he's still a unique boss, and it can be scary if you haven't played this map in a while when he's running full speed at you and you have no idea if he's going to die in time. Also, all the weird sounds he makes is just a tiny unsettling. That's 5, at least the most of it. There's been more lore added to it and a few things I didn't touch on, but overall I really like fighting in this version of the Pentagon. It's simple, but makes it a little different and unique from other maps. Remember that you can claim a limited large bonus pack in War Thunder today if you're a new or returning player that hasn't logged on in at least 6 months by using my link in the pinned comment or video description, granting you exclusive content. Content like premium vehicles, an exclusive 3D decorator, premium account, and more. War Thunder is available to play for free on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation.